our chat on Discord for our club went crazy.
Let's time trial this thing and let's see if we can get that time back. Well, out to the bottom of Cypress, so we just got on his wheel and he was pushing well over 400 watts because I was like third in line pushing 400 watts type thing. So we got to about the halfway.
Was it a cool feeling though?
It was so much fun. It
Yeah.
was so much fun. But I was far enough behind where I was looking at my watch, looking at him, seeing the power lines. It's like, when's he gonna finish? When's he gonna finish?
Rob, we're big fans. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan on Strava because every time I think I have a good time up a climb anywhere in Vancouver, I see your time and then I think about my training again. So thanks for being a motivator for all of us here in the Vancouver cycling community.
I really appreciate that. That's cool to hear. And I think that's a positive way we can use those Stravas and, to use it as motivation rather than comparison.
I mean, I'm saying it very kindly, but I do have some choice words for myself every time. I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't. It's Rob's time. Look at his power. Oh, God. Okay, we'll try again in a few years. But you're not a cyclist.
Not by history. But, also it's just to go back to there's always somebody better. There's always somebody faster, right? We're always looking up. We're always looking up. So, I'm doing the same thing, trying to catch AFM and Guyman and those guys. But yeah, I'm not a cyclist by, my athletic background is more in the running. Well, entirely in running. I don't really count my youth hockey or soccer career as athletic background.
So what's the briefing on Rob then from the running scene? So I see your Instagram, it says Ex Pro Jogger. I love that. Yeah.
I guess I come from a very sporting family with running. I started running I done my first 10K when I was 6 years old. And it was just a life. My older brother Pete was an excellent runner, and as a child you're always looking up to your brothers, your older siblings. So just something I did, and I was decent at it. Went through public school, high school, got a track and field scholarship to I went to the University of West Virginia for 1 year.
Awesome.
And then I transferred to Colorado State University and did there for 4 years. Steeplechase was my main event.
And what is steeplechase?
Steeplechase is a 3,000-meter event around the track that incorporates barriers and a water jump. So it's kind of like taking cross-country running and throwing it on the track.
That's an Olympic event, right?
It's an Olympic event. Okay. Yep. And then so after I graduated university, I went up and lived in Guelph, Ontario for 4 years and pursued high-level athletics. Won a few Canadian championships in the steeplechase. I went to the World Championships in the steeplechase. And then when I was at the World Championships, I just got completely dominated and humbled. So then I moved up to running marathons.
Oh, wow.
And then I got into marathon running. Fortunately, where I trained in Guelph, there was 2 Olympic marathoners there. So it was fun to chase them around.
Yep.
Never quite made the Olympics, but qualified for World Championships. Placed 20th at the World Championships in the marathon in 2013. And then just pursued trying to get the Olympics. And then after 2016, I failed to make the Olympics again, which was annoying. Kind of retired from the high-end scene. I would say like my elite running career ended in 2016.
Okay.
And then but always liked to pursue athletic endeavors, endurance athletics. When I retired from running, I was like, I want to keep running, obviously, because that's what I do, right? And it's like, but in what way? Because it was hard to motivate myself to run marathons when I was like, I've run this time and now, it's taking a step back, the intensity, the volume, and then putting up performances that weren't super exciting for me.
Yeah. I want to go back and also get your take from a psychological perspective when you're at that level and you're going for the Olympics, going for world champs, and then you see the level of competition and it's so much, I guess it was so much higher. What was that like? Was it, okay, I can work at this and I can get there? Because a lot of athletes, I think we even talked to on the show, are like, oh yeah, I went to Europe and I raced in Europe and oh my God.
Yeah.
And then I had to change everything I was doing and then try again.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was always, because to qualify for the Olympics and such, it was more so chasing a time standard. So that time standard was more of like, I have to run this fast. So there was competitors and obviously people out there who are much better.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't too It was what it was. Where it's like it's
What is the time standard, Rob,
it was,
if you remember?
So to qualify for the so it's a little bit confusing. There's the Olympic standard, and then there's the Canadian Olympic standard. So there's a general Olympic standard.
So it's like Canadian Olympic standard is like I can qualify for the team and I can go represent Canada?
Yeah, so there's a general Olympic standard where it's like if you run this time, you're accepted in the Olympics. And then Athletics Canada would be like, but we want you to run this time so you're competitive at the Olympics, right? So the Olympic standard would be something like a 2:18, and then Canada would be like, well, we want you to run 2:12 type thing, right? So I'd always be within the Olympic standard, but not at the Canadian Olympic standard.
Okay.
And so like in 2012, I was the fourth guy, and there was 3 guys that went, so I didn't qualify then. And then in 2016, I had the Olympic standard, but I didn't have the Canadian Olympic standard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was just, in 2016, the standard to qualify for the Olympics was 2:12:50.
And in reference for people who don't understand running, like I don't understand running, what does that mean? So like a normal, really great trained marathon runner locally in Vancouver, like what's their time?
Well, you got to run. So for someone, let's say a male who's
like weekend warrior,
like a 3-hour marathon's quite good. Like you got to work real hard to run a sub 3-hour marathon.
Okay.
And the top folks in town, if you're running a 2:30 marathon, you're jamming pretty good for sure.
Sweet.
And so I was my personal best was 2:13. Pre-super shoes, I like to say, because
okay, talk to me about that. Yeah, what is, because I like see those Nike shoes and they have like the little springboards in them. I've seen commercials and stuff, but
yeah, they're sick. Like they've completely changed the game of running, and like the results have shown, and the progressions of world records. It's just shoe technology, whereas before a racing shoe was like lighter. Everyone was just light. We wanted the lightest thing on our foot, and then they kind of flipped it and said, well, the marathon's long, like it also gives some support. So like the combination of the carbon plate and the advances in foam, it's just they make these shoes that have a lot more energy return and have a lot more forgiving on your legs.
So when you're like 80% done a marathon, what is the stuff that starts hurting?
Everything. Like for myself, it would be my lower legs and my quads. It just feels like after 35K, you just feel like you're just getting constantly punched. And it's just like every step hurts. And that's what you train for. You try to train that resiliency. You try to train that callus on your legs to avoid that from happening. But the thing with the marathon is like at 35K, everybody's suffering. We're all just going different paces at that suffering. And something I like about it is a very shared experience. So you can take someone who's run a 4-hour marathon, take someone who's run a 2.5-hour marathon. It's like physiologically, like we're going through the same stuff. So I like
that's endurance sports though. That's like the amazing thing, right?
Yeah, it's like going up a hill, right?
Yeah,
it's like you're going up a hill, I'm going up a hill. We may be going different paces, but we're feeling that same burning and our heart rate, and we're both like, this fucking sucks. But it's a cool shared experience.
Yeah. We enjoy being masochists. I get it.
That's what we do, man.
So okay, and now you're on a bicycle.
Yeah. So after a few years of just like, I tried to do like trail running and ultra running, but I just didn't really love it. And then, I just got on a bike, and I would always periodically been on bikes throughout my career for one wing, but I never really leaned into it.
Did you ever cross train? Like when you were like very competitive with running, you were cross training on cycling or swimming or anything?
Yeah, fortunately I was very durable and I never really got hurt. So like it would just be run. I was a very high mileage runner, like running like 200 plus kilometers per week type thing. And so mainly my focus was on the running. But every so often I would get a little something, not jump on the bike or do some swimming. But I hated cross training, not gonna lie, hated cross training. But yeah, eventually found my way to the bike, and just really fell in love with the speed of it. And something I did always enjoy about cycling when I was even cross training was like with cycling, you can find that line and you can really ride it for a long time, right? Like that low simmer sensation.
So like a zone 2, and you can ride that zone 2 for 9 hours if you want.
But even like faster. Like that threshold. Like I love threshold type work where you're just like kind of feathering it between braking and just being right there. I love that burn.
Which is perfect for hill climbs.
I think that's why I really like hill climbing. I just like going steady and long and hard, And I like that about cycling. I really like that about cycling, is you can really feather the sensation of the effort.
Yep. No. I enjoy it too, but it's that fine balance, right?
Yeah.
It's like the strategy behind cycling a lot of the time. Like I personally had my best time on Seymour this year and it was like so gratifying. But
Where'd you go?
I for the first time went sub 50. I think it was like 46 minutes. And I was like, this is amazing. But it wasn't because I wasn't fit, like that fit last year, but it was just happened to be you got the fresh legs, but more than that, it was you didn't push too hard at the start.
Yeah.
And you were able to put in the efforts at the right time. You had the right people in your little group pacing you up and pushing you. So I love that about cycling. You can overcome almost your own fitness if the strategy is good.
Absolutely. It's measuring out that effort, right? And when you're doing a Seymour, good job on the time. 46 minutes is legit. But yeah, it's just spreading it over time, because once you break, it's over. You give it all back. You give it all back, right? And that's what I talk about, like feathering it. It's like just like riding it just enough, because when you break, you're gone. You're at the back.
Yeah, it's over.
Same thing with running, right? And even more so in running and marathon running. I had a lot of marathons where I came through 30K thinking I'm going to run 210, and then I finish, I'm like, I ran 216. What the hell happened?
What
right?
happened? Where did 6 minutes go?
You just bleeding time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? One of the most awesome Rob Watson moments for me this year, and I think for a lot of us in the community, was seeing what you did at Mount Baker Hill Climb. That was crazy. Like we all, I would say, really admire like Phil Guyman, and to like not only see your break those times and see you right there with him was pretty awesome. Like, what was that like? Do you know of Phil Guyman? Do you know of that event? Or did you just like go and say, I'm just going to do my best job today and like see what happens?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Like Phil's, like I think if you're in the cycling world and you're engaged in YouTube or, you know, in the influencer side of things, you know who Phil Guyman is, right? And also he came to Vancouver and he took all the KOMs that I was very proud to be part of.
The Beachy and Red Truck guys took it back, so that's good.
And I helped on that day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
okay,
I can tell you about that story. Yeah. That was really, really cool. When AFM took that back. But for Baker, yeah, like that Baker climb's phenomenal. It's a beautiful, beautiful ride. Have you done it?
I haven't done it. A lot of the guys do it. We, I think, organize a ride every year where we do Mount Baker Hill Climb, but I'll do it this year.
Yeah, you got to get out there. It's just one of the nicest climbs in the area and nicest rides in general. So I'd gone and done it with a few guys a few weeks before, and it was a stinking hot day. It was a gross day, and like I was humbled by the effort I could put out. So like I was like, and then I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this hill climb because that was savage, right? And then I went to do the hill climb. I knew Phil was going to be there, which is great. And it was a beautiful day, and my legs felt decent. And I don't love, again, being a hill climber. I don't love pack. I don't love riding in a pack, racing in a pack.
Yep.
It just it unsettles me. So like, if need be, I'll just go to the front and I'll just drill and I'll just push the pace.
Yep.
And so first half is somewhat rolling, and then you get to the climb. Yeah. And my thing was like, I'm just get on the front and jam.
Proper European hill climb, right? Rolling, and then you get to the full ascent.
And then I just I was pushing the pace. Phil would come around and pushing the pace, and you get to talking a little bit. And I was like, oh yeah, he thought I was AFM because AFM was on the Alexander Fraser Moron. He was on the list, and I was like, nah, he's not here today. I'm Rob. He's like, oh, and I was like, yeah. It's like, I know Mike. He's like, oh no, because Woodsy's a buddy of mine, and he knows Woodsy, so he's like, oh no. I was like, don't worry, Phil.
Yeah.
Like I'm all out right now, and you're doing okay. But yeah, I just put my head down and go. The goal when I get on a hill climb, it's always like hit 400 watts and see how the legs respond to that. And and I feel like I can often.
So your 400 is my 300. Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like I generally know I can hold 400 for about 30 minutes, and then we'll see how things respond beyond then. And I'm also a steady climber. I'm not like a surgy. So like when he's surging, I was like, I hope he comes back, because I can go 400 for a long time, but once I go like, I can go 500. 500 is not bad, but like 600, 700, I can't sustain that for very long at all. So I just like to get a pace and go. And
do you can't talk during those efforts? Because I can't. Like when people start talking to me and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's talk through it and distract you," I'm like, "No, I need to be in my own head."
I think for the last like half or the last quarter, I can't really talk, but my
Yeah.
legs will always give out before my cardio, so I can often talk. Yeah, but it's usually just being like, "Fuck, this is hard." Right?
Yeah.
You're not having a very dignified conversation. It's
What was the thing when you were at least with Phil that you, I guess, learnt from him or just like saw the grace at which he rides? Like, because when I've ever ridden with pros or ex-pros, just like everything is very automatic, right? Just they make it look, I hate to say it, but they make it look easy and graceful and beautiful,
100%.
even though the effort is absurd.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
it. It's his cadence. It's his fluidity of his pedals. His pedaling. It's just like because you're in there and you feel like you're mashing, right? And
Yeah.
everything, and then like I something I want to learn. I want to learn to climb better in a high cadence.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, it looks like he was just out for a stride.
I'm
Like,
sure it was hurting and all that
yeah,
stuff,
he's
but
definitely
like
and the best people do a really good job of like having that poker face, right?
Yeah.
Where like they look very calm, but inside there's like a war going on,
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just like the way he was so relaxed on the bike was something to absolutely take note. And it's like, sometimes you're riding with someone and they take off. You're like, okay, they take off, but they're working hard for it. Where when someone effortlessly pulls away from you, and like that can like break your spirit a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
So like sometimes like I should cover this move because it looks like they're really having a week. But if you're on the edge and they just effortlessly float away, you're just like, all right, good luck, have fun, So, and that was like Phil. When Phil took off, he took off, and that was that.
That was that. Yeah. What's the difference in psychology for you running competitively versus now, like in these cycling events that are competitive? Is it different for you?
Yeah. Running was life and death. Like all I wanted to do with my life was run fast. And now I'm cycling's it's a serious hobby, I like to call it. Where it's fun. I do it for fun. Right?
Do you think the industry, maybe not even in the industry, but the community takes it too seriously?
No, I think everybody does it for their own reason, right? And like that's like I had my highly competitive career and I had that aspect of my life and I loved it when I was in it, but I don't need that right now.
Yeah.
I like to so it's like a lot of it's internal. Like what I get out of it. I like to push myself, I like to work hard, I like to have fun. So like when I'm in these races and people are trying to do like pack dynamic, I'm like I don't care about sitting in and trying to win a sprint. Like I drove to Langley on a Saturday morning. Like, let's go fast and let's have some fun, right? Like, I don't like, and also I'm not gonna win a sprint. Never gonna win a sprint, right? So like,
Yeah.
I just want to go fast, and I'll take poles, fine. I'll shut down brakes, fine. I love that stuff. I love the racing element of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
making a break is my favorite thing in cycling. It's like when your brake finally sticks. It's such a cool feeling.
It is, and you had that happen at Okanagan Fondo, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The brake stuck. But then the second best feeling is chasing down a brake, right? And bridging that. I love that too. So I love that back and forth. And like, when sometimes you lose a break or you want to make a break, and someone's like, oh, I'm racing for my team. It's like, oh, come on, we're Cat 3. Let's just go, let's go and ride our bikes.
Yeah. No. I totally agree with you, but I think you put it in a really nice way, right? Like people are doing it for all kinds of reasons, and like maybe you're a lawyer or accountant, during your weekday, but like when it's the weekend or when you're off work, it's serious. But they need it to be serious. I need it to be serious.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Yeah.
I will never judge somebody for their approach in sport because it's a personal thing. Like we're all on that start line for our own reasons, right? Like, and I'm there for what I want to do, and you're there for and we're there together, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to ride off the front, I'm not going to take it personally and think of any differently of you as a person. I'm like, oh man, I don't care.
It always makes me think of like pro cycling in the 90s. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like those GC guys used to take real offense if you went off the front. Like I see old videos of like I always go back to this because he's a classic example as Cipollini, right? Like if you tried to go into the break and it was his day to sit in, like you'd get water bottles thrown at your head.
Yeah, the hierarchy of the peloton back then, it was very, very much like that, eh?
Yeah. Do you follow pro cycling now?
I do. I follow pro cycling quite like just Mike Woods he's my bud, right? So like
That's amazing.
It's fun to
Another runner.
A phenomenal runner.
What made him phenomenal, if you don't mind me asking?
I think he has, well, based on what he's been able to do on the bike, I think he has a ton of natural talent. But he's also got an amazing work ethic.
Yeah.
So when you find that combination of world-class talent and world-class work ethic, you get world-class athletes, obviously. And he was a phenom from the time he was 16 years old for running, right?
Yeah.
I think he still has a Canadian record for the junior mile. So he just took that ability, learned to ride a bike, and here we go, right?
So what was it like seeing him win this year at the Tour?
Oh my gosh. I didn't get to see him win because his stage was the stage when the Okanagan Fondo.
Oh God. Okay.
So it was hilarious because I used to be coached by Woodsy, and then he's like, sorry, Rob, I can't coach anymore. Got to focus on winning some tour stages. And I was like, all right. So
you're like,
I'll make the sacrifice.
Yeah.
But anyways, like we were doing the Okanagan Fondo that day, and before we went to do the race, was watching that, and he was in the break, and the break had 14 minutes or something on the peloton. So it's like somebody from the break's going to win today.
Yep.
And then like with whatever we had to go and do the race, like, oh man, I kind of just want to stay and watch this. This is a potentially huge day. So that was in the back of my mind. And then when I finished, I went to my phone, and we have a company Slack, because Woodsy's a co-founder of Mile to Marathon, which is the coaching company that I do here in Vancouver. And
Perfect.
And like the chat was like there was dozens and dozens of mismatches. Like, so I'm assuming Woodsy won because I don't think this is for my Okanagan Fondo performance.
I hope it would be, but but I'm sure you saw the video after and the recap and all of that good stuff, and that was crazy to watch him just like float away, and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna actually happen.
Well, honestly, watching that replay, I was like, I can't see how he pulls this off. I need more message because Jorgensen had so much space on him, but he just shut it down. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. Yeah, so I was so stoked for that because you know how much it meant to the guy. Like that's a career defining moment, and that's really cool.
Absolutely. Have you got to chat with him after?
Just briefly on like instant messaging and stuff like that. And he's a very focused, serious guy, but like that was clearly a huge accomplishment. So
it's good. It was a good sign, and then now we're getting to see now another season this year where he'll take the lead. I think he's captain now, and now we have like a Derek G. Right? Like I can't wait to watch him now again at the Grand Tours this year.
Wow, Derek G at the Giro was a force.
It was almost comical to watch, and it was so crazy.
It just how hard it is to get into a break that sticks at the World Tour level.
Yes.
Because all day you got to take a shot. You got to choose the right one, right? Sometimes a break goes, you're like, you can't do every move, right? So for him to constantly get into that, so impressive, the riding.
Yeah, I think the last time he came, he had that really good performance, came in second. He was done at the finish line. Like it was... Yeah, you could see that they push beyond... Have you been there? Have you pushed beyond your own limits and you finish off and you're like ready to pass out, throw up, and cry all at the same time?
I've ended up in the medical tent a time or two for sure. In 2012 Rotterdam Marathon, it was a chance to go to the Olympics, and that was the thing. You had to run a certain time. So it's like, well, I'm going to run the Olympic pace for as long as I physically can, right? Like, I have no other choice. It's that or nothing, right? So, and I remember coming through 30K in that race on pace to run 2:10, and I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. This is sick. Let's go. And then at like 35K, I was like, I can't see straight. I don't know what's happening here. And the first thing I did when I crossed the finish line is I fell over, and then I puked. And then they picked me up, put me on a gurney. I puked on the volunteer. Took me to the medical tent. I was done, and it was a good memory because it's like, I gave what I had. It wasn't enough, but at least you can be satisfied you gave what you had.
That's the thing, right? And I love that about cycling. Like I did Belgian waffle ride this year. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the satisfaction of finishing, even though you're like you can't see straight and you're like
you're empty.
Yeah. It's huge. I want to get into gear because like you're obviously a Lululemon ambassador.
Yep.
So that's outstanding. I want to know what that's like. But what's your relationship with gear? Is it like, okay, this is the best, I use it for running, that's great, and now you're in cycling where the whole sport, it seems, is just like gear focused. It can be.
Oh, I am not like super interested in that type of stuff. And I don't like on the bike. You're like, well, what are you riding? Well, I was like, I don't my bike. Like, you know. And,
see, I find this fascinating because like all the athletes we talk to, they don't care. Yeah. Like it's like, give me what works, give me what's reliable. Don't care. I'm gonna perform. Aerodynamics is important, but I'll just listen to whoever tells me what I need to be doing.
That's what I do too. I just take it to the shop and I'm like, make it fast. And you know, and then with aero, and I'm focusing on working on my positioning and becoming more aero and more efficient in that regard. But like, even if you ask me like my cassette size, like I don't know. It's like what the bike shop put on, and I just ride my bike. But I find it really interesting, and I want to learn more.
Yes,
it's not for lack of. It's just like there's a lot to take in, right? There's a lot going on. There's crazy how complicated a bicycle is. Like I remember.
Well, I think we make it overly complicated. Let's be very honest. To sell product or do whatever, it's like
it is definitely a big business, and it's a demographic that doesn't mind spending money on it for sure. But like I remember when I was a kid, you get your bike from Canadian Tire and you ride the thing, and I don't ever remember looking at my bike as a kid and being like, oh, I need to fix this. Oh, I need to change my chain.
I'd be faster if this was ceramic.
It's just something to do. And now it's just like, oh, I need to get a new chain. Oh, I love cleaning my bike, you know, taking good care of it. But the gear is. It's cool. I get why people can get so involved in it, especially like everyone's got a different mindset. Again, like someone's more engineering or that. Like,
I respect that. Like there are riders who like have 6 bikes and they're all stunning and like that's their thing, right? They want to ride beautiful bikes and they want to get into the gear, and like I respect that. At the same time, some people are like, I have my one bike. I ride it really hard, and I'm obsessed with the training.
Yeah, that I'd definitely fall more into that. But like Vancouver has beautiful bikes. Like I will respect. Like I definitely know. Like I look at what people ride. You know, like, that's a sick bike. But also like a well maintained older bike is also a beautiful bike, right? And that's the thing. Yeah. Bikes are personal. And
I say it to myself, and I think I've said it on the podcast a few times. So I apologize for people who listen to me all the time. But like. If I can't win the Tour de France on the bike I have right now, then, you know, like, you know what I mean? It's not the bike holding me back here.
Yeah.
Let's be really honest.
Absolutely. And that's something with like, it's again, with kind of like with running, it's like, focus on the big thing, which is your fitness, which is the engine, which is the athlete, and then worry about those marginal gains later, right? It's like...
Because for most of us, right, like it's like there are 1,000 other things. Like when you coach people for running, there's probably 1,000 things they can focus on way before they focus on like, I need to buy this pair of shoes and this pair of socks and whatever.
I think cycling and running are the same. It's like, what's the secret? It's do it more. Like ride more, run more. That'll solve 95% of people's issues.
So can I ask, when you coach running, is the methodology similar that you're seeing in cycling, where like a lot of the coaching now for cycling is ride lots of zone 2, tons and tons and tons of zone 2, throw in the interval stuff before an event, and then, you know, ramp down, do your event. Is it the same with running?
Yeah, absolutely, right? You just got to make sure.
And you guys aren't like 6 zones; you're like 3 zones, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's the physiology is similar, right? It's an aerobic event, so just build up your aerobic engine as much as you can, and oftentimes that's what it is. That's what zone 2 is, right? You're just developing your aerobic fitness, and you know, you race a marathon, you're 98% of it's in the aerobic zone, so just. That's what you got to target, right?
Yeah.
There's never a point in the marathon where you're running as fast as you can. There's no sprinting involved, right? Ideally, like unless you've really messed up or something. But like, you know, so just like cover the bases. But within running, you know, you do have to cover other zones for other reasons. But it's like I do follow kind of the 80-20, where 80% of it's just aerobic, easy. It's not super stimulating. It's not super exciting, but that's the important stuff. And then you do have to cover, you know, your threshold work and you want to do your intervals and things like that. But yeah, it's like just run more. And that was always my thing when running. Like whenever I was like, I'm just gonna run more. I'm just gonna run more. And that's what got me to being the athlete that I was just having a huge engine.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, From a mental standpoint, from a coaching perspective, do you talk to people about their mental state during endurance events? Like, I feel like we don't put enough emphasis on that in cycling. It's like, how do you deal with, like, yeah, you're on the limit, like back it off just slightly and then like go back into that pain cave.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it's super important, right? Because something I love about endurance sport is the physiology. That word I'm trying to say, that's standard, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we all share that. There's all the same chemistry going on internally, and the way to stimulate it and train it and work it. That's pretty science based, right?
Yeah.
And so you can cover that. But then the mental side of things, which is equally important, that's completely unique to the athlete, right? We all got there based on our life's experiences and other situations, and like, so our mental is unique to ourselves.
Yes.
Right? And everyone's going to respond differently. And I find that with coaching. Some athletes, you need to be hard on them. Some athletes, you need to be soft. And there's no right way. It's the way that person is going to respond. So like, yeah, that mental side, it's like, you got to find out what motivates and what drives and what is going to stimulate these people to be able to go as deep as they can and as hard as they can. Like, how do you get there?
Are you hard on yourself?
Not as much as I was. I used to be.
Yeah.
Again, like this, like when I was running and running was everything. Like I have to do this, because if I don't do this, then I can't do that.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'd be hard on myself, absolutely. But now I'm just I'm much more sensation based. I don't look as much at. I like, the numbers are fun, but the numbers on the head unit, they don't dictate what I do. My body and my how I'm feeling that day dictates what I do.
Yeah, I was reading a lot of the guys that we really admire, like Tade, right?
Yeah.
His parameter is running, but I think he was saying in an interview, I turn it off. I don't look at power when I'm racing, because there's just no point. You get the mental edges here. It's not, okay, I'm like right at threshold. I'm maintaining it for 45 minutes. I think I can push harder. No, it's all... Yeah,
I
it's
like
the sensations, right?
I like to use that as a guide or like just a check-in, but like I don't want to establish a race plan based on numbers, right? I want to just listen and be instinctual. It's cool to be instinctual.
Yeah, it's good for training, right? And
yeah,
it's
exactly,
not like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the race, like the race is going to happen, and you got to just be ready to respond and let it kind of flow organically.
How was Whistler Fondo for you?
Whistler,
I want to ask this one because like, I actually had a great day on the bike. Like, I saw your crew for a good part of it. I think Nathan, who produces us, was on the bike. I got some great photos of you too. So, but Whistler is scary for me always because it's so bunchy, and you don't know who you're riding with. You could be riding with, I ride 2 hours on the weekend, and I'm just like redlining for the first 20 minutes. I don't know how to handle a bike, and then you have people like yourself who are fantastic, or the red truck guys and ladies. So it's like a whole swatch of people, at least for the first hour. It can be.
Yeah, the Whistler, I love that race. But it was gnarly this year. I mean, it was gnarly last year. It was gnarly this year because the neutral rollout is... I don't like the neutral rollout in that race.
Oh, you did St. Regis, I guess, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you experienced the same thing. Coming down Lionsgate Bridge was just brakes.
Yeah, it was like... way too slow that it was borderline unsafe. And so I got shuffled to the back because, like I was saying before, I'm not a great pack rider, and like I will give up space, and then people fill that space, so I always get shuffled. And last year we waited till we got to the top of Taylor Way before things went. But
oh God, I wish.
This year we got to the bottom of Taylor Way, and it was gone. I did my second or third highest 3-minute power, and I was getting dropped. Because I was off the back. Well, I shouldn't say off the back. I just wasn't well positioned for that attack, right? So I think I did like 5:20 for 3 minutes, and I was gassed and like barely hung on to the front, right?
Yeah.
And then when we get to the top, and then there's attack, right? And that first, I was like, I just wanted to go home. I was like, this is so hard.
So hard.
This is so
It was
hard.
all of us, though. I think, I don't know, we had strategized and said, like, it's going to go off at Taylor Way, and we practiced it.
Yeah.
But when it went, it was not only so much more difficult than I thought it would be, but you got off the hill, and you're like, okay, I made it in the pack. but then the 5 minutes afterwards, it's still like a false flat
Oh, yeah.
onto the highway, and people were ripping
People
it.
were attacking. People were trying to get moves, and I also think like I just wasn't warmed up and ready because you want a few efforts to go, but we went.
It was a cold morning.
We went from neutral to full send, and it was ridiculous. So I was kind of on the back foot that whole day. Like, I didn't have great legs, and even when the break that got away went away, like I tried to chase it, and I was like, I can't. I can't. Like, there's nothing I can do here. They're gone.
Do you find that like it's better to have decent legs as opposed to great legs at the start line?
Yeah, I think I think it's good to build into the race, right?
Yeah.
Not get too ahead of yourself, because having great legs just means you do the work for everyone else.
Yeah.
Especially in cycle racing, right? You think you put in a big move, you look back and everyone's just lined up behind you. Be like, thanks for the pull.
But I do love Whistler Grand Fondo. I think it's an amazing event. It's like, it's so
Phenomenal.
unique and like it's so beautiful. And not this year, but the year before, I did the Forte, but I like did it for fun.
Yeah.
Like I didn't race it. And like I always tell people, like, it's fun to do St. Regis. It's fun to like race the Forte, but like go do it one year and like don't do any of it. Stop at every rest stop,
Yeah.
chat with tons of people, make someone's day. I think this is something we don't do as like the good cyclists in the community is go to an event like the Victoria Fondo, go to the Whistler Fondo, stay in the back. The people who are doing it for the first time, like chat with them, help them out, pull, be in those groups. So I think this is something I want to talk to even our club about is like, let's go to an event and like just make someone's day at the event and not race it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool, right? Because it can be intimidating.
Cycling and now cycling is super intimidating.
It can be. It can be like, even just when I started, it's like going to group rides was scary, right? Because if you're being judged or you're not good enough, right? And then so that's a great to take that leadership initiative to bring the community together, and everyone who's there, again, they're there for their own reason. And I think that Fondo does a really good job in covering that and making it kind of inviting and accessible to everybody, which is not always easy to do. So yeah, they do a great job, and it's such a fun event. It rolls, but also it doesn't have to, right?
Absolutely.
Just getting your butt from Stanley Park to Whistler. If you do that, that's a hell of a ride.
Yeah, I think we lose sight of that. Like it's still an amazing achievement, and like anyone who does it, like super kudos to you, because it's not an easy day.
Yeah,
it's never an easy, or a marathon. Like I would never do a marathon, Rob. Like, I mean, maybe that'll change one day, but like it scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, you don't need to. It's fine.
No, I like my knees. I want to end with, so you're doing all this Ironman stuff. What's all that about?
Yeah, it's just another challenge. Something to do. You know what? I think the human body is an absolutely amazing machine, and I just want to see what it's capable of doing. And it's just like, I enjoy endurance athletics. I enjoy pushing myself. I enjoy experiencing new things, and it's something I wanted to try. And actually, the half Ironman I just did, that came from the Penticton Fondo.
Really?
It's because, we did the Penticton Fondo as a group with Lululemon, and afterwards I have a tradition where a couple of us, we just drink some beers and shoot the shit, and we were at the Okanagan Fondo, and I was with the freaking CEO of Lulu, and he's like, well, what's next? And I was like, I always wanted to do a half Ironman. And long story short, it happened last weekend, because Kelvin he's big into Ironman, so he was all about that, and so we just got a crew down there, and I really enjoyed the process of training. Like, it was like swimming was a new skill. Cycling is something I love to do and I'm really fun at, and running's my passion. And ironically enough, the running element was where I struggled the most coming off the bike, because I came out of the water.
I guess you don't really like start a run and you're like, oh, okay, I'm already tired.
Yeah, I overcooked the bike because I came out of the water in 600th place. Like, because I'm not a super strong. I passed 450 people on the bike. So I was just like, it was like a video game.
Yeah.
And I was like, wee. And it was so much fun. So then I think I lost my head a little bit and just overcooked it. When the run starts, I'm used to when I do my bricks, like the first kilometer is like, oh, this is hard. But it'll settle in. And I was like, oh, second kilometer, this is hard. And I was like, I think my legs are just gone. So then I just suffered through the run. And it was cool. Yeah. It was humbling. And I was very proud of myself to have done it. So yeah, so.
And now you're signed up for another one, I think.
Yeah, because I can't I'm very much like, if I want to do something, I want to do it right.
Yeah.
And I want to give myself time to do it right. And I got to rectify that run, because that run was not okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm excited to hear how that one goes. I love that you like do the Instagram stories. I hope you know it gives me a lot of joy. I'm sure tons of people get a lot of joy out of your like recaps.
Oh, thank you.
So, that's awesome. Before we end, I want to take the veil off maybe for like 2-3 minutes around the Seymour Hill climb when you guys took it from Phil again. Because like our chat on Discord for our club went crazy. It was just an awesome moment. Like Vancouver people actually own our KOM. Thank God.
Yeah, that was the Cypress one actually.
Sorry, Cypress. Yes. Thank you.
Hopefully we can get Seymour back this year. So, I ride with the CAC group. They're a great group and get some really good riders. And every so often, AFM, Alexander Fraser Moran, he's the top hill climber in town, right?
Yeah.
And we'd known that he had gone for that segment a couple times, and at the end of last season,
and he's been trying it on his own, I guess. Hey?
Yeah, and then at the end of last year, I think it was September, it was like, let's time trial this thing and let's see if we can get that time back. So we just planned a day, and it was AFM and Declan, Al Murison, myself, Sam Kaufman, Colin Eriks came out, and it was like, we're just gonna jam this and try to position AFM where he needs to be, type thing. So we just got to the bottom of Cypress. Declan, who's just a horse, right? He's a tank. Yeah. So he took us for like the first 8 minutes. So we just got on, and we shared leads.
So you guys got all the way up to, I guess, that first switchback?
The first lookout. Yeah. So we just got on his wheel, and he was pushing well over 400 watts, because I was like third in line pushing 400 watts type thing. And then he took us up to the first lookout, and at the first lookout, Al Murison picked us up, and then Al took us for like the next 12 minutes, so we got to about the halfway.
Was it a cool feeling though? Like,
it was so much fun. It was so much fun. And then we shared off, so it's it's like a 25-minute climb or whatever. So for
you guys, it's 25 minutes. For you guys, it's 25 minutes.
And so we were just sharing the lead and just trying to take any pull we could to help AFM. He was really strong that day, and I made it to about a little over 20 minutes. I was 4:08 for 20 minutes. And then I was like, I'm done, you go, type thing. Yeah. And then, but I was far enough behind where I was looking at my watch, looking at him, seeing the power lines. It's like, when's he going to finish? When's he going to finish? And then when I saw him finally stumble off the bike, I looked at my watch, like, oh, I think he got it. Yeah. And it was a big deal, right? I mean, and some people, be like, oh, it's just a Strava KOM, but it was a huge accomplishment, and it was a big goal of his, and it was really cool to see. And it was all AFM, like he's just such a strong rider, but it was cool to even be a part of that. And it was it was taking it back for a Vancouver rider to have a iconic Vancouver KOM is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, for all of us, it was a huge win. So I hope you guys know that. I hope you guys feel that love. Like it felt good, because it was very annoying to see Phil Guyman at the top of that all the time. But I guess that's why Phil does what he does, right?
Those are his Seymour one's gnarly. So hopefully we can get a squad behind it and go after this year.
So what made the big difference with Cypress? It was aerodynamics. You guys were in a pack, and that like ate up some of that time on the flats, right? I could see that being the biggest.
The drafting matters so much on Cypress, because Cypress isn't as steep as Seymour. So like the drafting matters, because for example, like we got to the first lookout, and I want to say 9 minutes, right? And I was probably about 400 watts. I went and did that by myself and set my highest ever 10-minute power, and I was like 440, and I was 40 seconds slower. Just, it's like, because if you're going a certain speed, you need those aerodynamics.
So see, it still makes a difference on a climb.
It makes a huge difference, yeah, and especially again like at Cypress, where it's a lower grade. So you can benefit from it big time.
Amazing. Thank you for doing that for all of us. Rob, this has been amazing. I could chat with you a ton more. They'll kill me because they have to actually look at this footage and cut it. So thank you so much. And I hope you have an amazing season in 2024. And hopefully I'll see you at the start of the race and then I'll wave goodbye. So
right on. Well, thank you so much for having me. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was great to chat. And like, I follow what you're doing with this podcast and with your group, The Last Drop. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see the community building. I think that the Vancouver cycling scene could benefit from having a more like integrated community. I feel it's a little fragmented at times. So like, just keep doing what you're doing too, because it's really, really cool. And I respect what you're doing, and your group looks fantastic.
No, truly appreciate it. We're just trying to take down the walls, get everyone riding together, and it should be all smiles every time we go to an event, go to a group ride, or just see each other at UBC when we're going up and down that hill, right? So like it's all about that. So it brings us a lot of joy. So thanks, Rob. We'll do a fist bump and we'll end it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out the Super Domestique podcast. Follow us on Instagram or find us at thelastdrop.cc to learn more.